there's two types of hacking. There's illegal hacking, and then there's something called ethical hacking, right? What does the law say about it, more or less, just in simple terms? What? Hi guys, welcome to Mamolao. Here we are again, standing on legal business. Today we are going to discuss cybersecurity. Yes, you heard it right, guys. There's a lot of us who've been cloned, our phones have been cloned, our identity has been stolen through cybersecurity threats. So today we're definitely going to, or in good company, discussing cybersecurity with the one and only Professor Sizwe Snail. Welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome.
Please, can you introduce yourself so that our viewers understand exactly who you are in this industry?
I'm a cyber lawyer, so I practice information technology law. I also teach at varsity, the course cyber law at various levels, and I'm also an author in the field. So anything about cyber law, I'm there.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Prof. Please, can you tell us exactly, so that the viewers understand, what is cybersecurity in layman's terms?
I guess cybersecurity is the ability to secure information, be it personal information, be it proprietary information, in the electronic space. I think that's what cybersecurity is about. Cyber being, this intangible space of information highways, and then the security aspect, I guess, then, like I said, confidentiality, integrity, having appropriate security measures and the likes.
And what are the best practices to exercise cybersecurity for individuals and for companies alike?
I think when one is talking cybersecurity in the South African sense, one can talk cybersecurity from a legal sense, and one can also talk cybersecurity from a technical sense. I guess since this is a legal show, let me maybe focus on the legal technical aspects.
Right.
You would find cybersecurity in, for instance, the POPIA, the Protection of Personal Information Act. I'm sure everyone has heard about that.
Yeah.
Section 19 in particular, 19.1 and 19.2 thereof, have this obligation on anyone who processes personal information to keep the information safe and secure. And by doing so, you must apply certain security measures in order for the data to remain confidential and safe, and away from what they would call data breaches or unlawful access.
So while we're on the point of unlawful access, Prof, what data breaches or cyber attacks can ordinary people find themselves in, or even cyber threats? What can ordinary people find themselves in when it comes to cyber threats and cyber attacks?
I like the fact that you asked it in that fashion, because not all cyber crimes result in cyber breaches.
Okay.
So there are certain cyber crimes which are cyber crimes, but they don't pertain to the confidentiality and the security of the data. But there are certain cyber crimes in our Cybercrimes Act, for instance, unlawful access of an information system, unlawful access of data, unlawful interference of a communication, unlawful interference in terms of RICA as well. So there are certain laws that also criminalize unlawful access.
Okay.
Whereas data breaches in terms of the POPIA, if one looks at the definition of a data breach and what a data breach is, it would be the unlawful, should I say, making available of personal information, right?
Yeah.
Be it by way of negligence, be it by way of intentional criminal action, So there's a various, should I say, group of actions that can result in a data breach.
Okay. So maybe let's make it a little bit practical, right? So I am John Doe and I'm working on my work laptop. But because I work from home, I also then use the laptop to sometimes look at, social media things or things in my personal capacity, right? I use it to bank. I use it to look at social media. I use it maybe to look at a few videos on YouTube and so forth. Now, the John Doe then finds a situation where maybe there's a pop-up that says, look, you actually have entered this website that is not allowed by the company. What can he find himself in when it comes to a cyber threat that results in a cyber crime and a cyber attack, a full-on cyber attack on that particular laptop?
Look, when you are using a company laptop,
Yeah.
companies usually will tell you they'll have their own terms and conditions pertaining as to what can be done on that laptop, who can use that laptop, what type of websites do you visit on that laptop,
Yep.
what type of websites would be considered very risky.
Correct.
We know in the olden days, pornographic websites were in particular considered very risky. Obviously, we now also have people who are creating, or should I say, misrepresenting certain businesses, in other words, cyber fraud, as well in the online space. So I think when one is using a company device, one should be strict with oneself.
Sure.
And use the device solely for the purpose that you have been given it for. In that way, you avoid a lot of nonsense. You avoid me, you avoid Mamolao, you avoid paying a legal bill that's unnecessary for being charged with misconduct for accessing a site you shouldn't have, be it accidentally so or intentionally. So when it comes to company devices, cell phones, tablets, laptop, I think the rules should be quite straightforward there.
Yeah.
Love yourself enough, go buy your own stuff. If you want to go on social media, if you want to use the computer for other purposes, devices are not that expensive.
So, but what would that individual need to look out for, even if, let's say, it was his personal device? What are the clues, I guess I can ask, what are the clues that he needs to be aware of that can lead to data breaches and cyber attacks?
There are obviously suspicious emails.
Yep.
Let's start with emails. If you've never received an email from Mamolao, then maybe you should be suspicious.
Okay.
I'm not saying don't open the email. Do open it, but treat it with circumspection. If you are not an attorney who's doing conveyancing, and this is very important to our colleagues out there, if you're not an attorney doing conveyancing or you're not an attorney doing RAF matters, and all of a sudden an email is sent to you with an attachment concerning a settlement in an RAF matter that you are not doing, or you are not involved in a conveyancing matter and there's this strange attachment from this law firm that you've never met, then obviously you should be careful.
Yep.
Going back to emails, sometimes email headers hide the actual email address.
Okay.
So sometimes be suspicious, if it says it's coming from Sizwe Snail Gamtuze, it may not come from Sizwe Snail Gamtuze. The header could have been changed.
Oh.
Click the reply button, see actually what's the email address where it came from. And you'll be very surprised that it's actually not the email that it purports to be.
Really?
Yeah, so there's things to look out. Be suspicious of attachments. If you're not expecting any documents or whatever from anyone, be careful. When it comes to business email compromises, there's been a lot of court cases now in the High Court and in the Supreme Court. If you're going to email your banking details, have special operating procedures in place where once the email has been sent, in an encrypted manner, maybe that should be one of the requirements, that you send an encrypted email, and once the recipient receives it, you actually telephone that person. Telephones still work.
Yep.
You call the person, you verify. I think there's a lot of operating procedures that one can put in place to avoid business email compromises.
Okay. All right. So I want to move on to hacking, because I've heard recently that there's two types of hacking. There's illegal hacking, and then there's something called ethical hacking, right? What does the law say about it, more or less, just in simple terms? What is hacking in general? And I know that previously in South Africa, we didn't have legislation around making hacking, illegal, right? But now that there is legislation of this nature, how then, or take us into your confidence around what would we need to know as the public around what is hacking, or the difference between illegal hacking and what is called ethical hacking?
Okay, let's start with the word hacker.
Yep.
So the word hacker has got its origins in the late 70s, when there were smart university students who were doing programs.
Mm-hmm.
So the hackers were actually considered smart boffins, people who know how to hack code,
Yep.
to create code, right? That is where the word hacker comes from. The negative connotation of hacker then started coming when people started creating malicious code.
Okay.
Malicious code, what we call viruses, what we call Trojans, all these types of code that do dangerous things to your computer, to your personal information. They steal it. So yes, we do distinguish between what we call black hat hackers and white hat hackers. Don't ask me why the bad ones are black and why the white ones are the good ones.
We won't go there.
That's a topic that we need to maybe distill in academic writing and ask, why is black associated with the bad guys? But anyway, not to detract from the question, black hat hackers are the ones that intentionally hack with the intent to do crime, to do bad, to do evil, to destroy, espionage, political espionage. The list is countless. Then the white hat hackers are those who do what they call testing of information system securities. There's this word that they like using, calling penetration testing, to say, these are guys who you hire to intentionally hack you, so that they can come back to you and show you the vulnerabilities in your system so that you up your game.
Right.
So those are the white hat hackers.
Okay.
And then we have, and as I said, the black hat hackers. So that's the distinction between the two.
I see. That's very interesting, actually. So I want us to move to workplace scenarios, because recently I was invited to a radio station where they were asking me about the dangers of bringing your own device to perform your duties in the workplace. Can you perhaps maybe take us through bringing your own device to the workplace? What are the dangers that one needs to be aware of when it comes to cybersecurity?
Look, I guess it depends what the work environment is. If it is a small law firm and you have your group of candidate attorneys, if you are a well-off law firm and that's doing well, maybe you should be dishing out laptops.
Okay.
And people shouldn't be coming with their own devices. But with candidate attorneys, they are still trainees.
True.
What would a trainee be without a pen and a pencil and a ruler?
Yeah.
So I personally encourage, for instance, candidate attorneys to have their own devices.
Okay.
There are ways how one can have, using things like Office 365, where one can limit access to certain folders, to certain information bases. I'm sure there's always a way in which one can separate one's personal access to certain files to the work access. I think another issue, I guess, with bringing your personal device to work is what is it that you keep on the device? There are people, I guess, who have certain fetishes, who have some things on their devices that maybe I wouldn't have or you wouldn't want to have.
Yeah.
That is then when, the danger then comes from having people bringing their devices to the workplace. Others using USBs. I remember up until about 10 years ago, I used to allow people to share USBs at the office. I mean, who does that in 2024?
Indeed.
There are certain companies that even disable your USB port.
I know.
Because it is a entry port where viruses can be brought on.
Correct.
People can be hacked. So I think it is, as Section 19 says, you must have technical measures, you must have organizational measures.
Okay.
You mustn't share your username and password. You must conduct yourself in a particular way. You must change your passwords every 30 to 60 days. You should practice what they call cyber hygiene, okay, where you regularly go and you delete your cookies, you regularly go and you delete your browsing history, things like that.
Yeah.
Similar to that you do on your phone.
Okay.
That there's that functionality where you can go and check your phone's health.
But shouldn't your employer also then provide you with the relevant what do you call it? The relevant tools to be able to do that cyber hygiene, the regular updates to those. But if I'm using my own device for work purposes, I'm not going to spend my data and my airtime keeping it hygienic or keeping my employer's data hygienic.
Look, I think that's where the problem lies.
Right.
I think people think it's other people's problems.
Okay. It's all our problem?
Yeah, it's everyone's problem.
Okay.
And it's your problem first. It's my problem first. We are the problem.
Okay.
Hence the law talks about technical and organizational measures.
Okay.
Who are we managing with the organizational measures? We are managing human beings.
Correct.
We are managing behavior. We are managing the way in which we share our personal information. The fact that you allow your 9-year-old to go on your phone or his or her phone, upload software indiscriminately without monitoring who's maybe spying on that. These are things that we must do as human beings.
True.
It's everyone's responsibility. So, no, I disagree. I think cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the employer shouldn't do his or her part. Yes, the employer should provide antiviruses, should provide certain software to secure the information and make sure that the licenses are updated and so forth.
Okay.
Hence I said, this is now where we start distinguishing between the work device and the personal device.
True.
And like I said, one work environment is completely different from another. If you are in a highly tech-sensitive or information-sensitive environment, and I'm not saying a law firm isn't, it is. I mean, we know with the Panama leaks, it happened in a law firm.
Yeah.
But if you are in a very, very, should I say, tech-sensitive, information-sensitive environment, then maybe not bring personal devices in.
True.
Maybe then do, curtail the level of access that people have, the level of devices that are on this particular network. That is one of the measures that you are taking to ensure that the information does not get to where it should not be.
Lovely. So I just want you to take us into our confidence. You just said that you're an author, Prof. Tell us more around what would one learn within those books when it comes to cybersecurity. Where do we come from? Where are we now? And where is cybersecurity going? Let's say within South Africa, within the continent and around the world.
Okay, well, I've written a lot on the topic of cyber law.
Right.
And what is exactly cyber law? It's information communication technology law. And cybersecurity is one of the subsets of that.
Okay.
So yes, I have written on cybersecurity. In fact, many years ago when there was a cybersecurity bill, cybersecurity bill. I commented on that with Francis Crinier. There was a booklet out on that. That led then to the Cybercrimes Act. The Cybercrimes Act, another piece of legislation where I was involved in the drafting and commenting of that. That you will also find. I've written numerous articles on cybercrime and data protection.
Yeah.
I did my stint at the information regulator once upon a time.
Oh, really?
I was still a baby. I was 36, one of the youngest data protection commissioners in the world.
Look at you.
And so, I've written on data protection, the POPIA.
Tell me, Prof, what have you learned then in this journey around? Let's stick to cybersecurity in particular. And I know you've been to the information regulator and so forth. What have you learned that we can share with our viewers around understanding more and having, being more savvy, cybersecurity savvy, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, I think it comes with that cyber hygiene that I was talking about.
Yeah.
We should change our practices concerning how we share information, with whom we share information, and at what level, and why we share information. Okay. I think in 2024, we should be a society where someone phones you and asks you for your ID number over the phone. You should tell them, but wait a minute, aren't you my bank? Don't
you should have it.
My ID number.
Right.
Isn't there another way you can verify me? You know? I mean, I'm literally, I'm rude like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because I don't know who I'm talking to.
Correct.
Just now I'm talking to someone who purports to be from the bank, and there I go giving away my ID number. Yeah. So I think we should be more responsible. I know a lot of people say, yes, you must buy the technology, you must do this, you must look out for cyber criminals. And I always say that cyberspace is as safe as walking in Hillbrow at 12 o'clock noon. That's how safe cyberspace is. Or walking into Diepsloot, at 1 o'clock without representing the people who are locals there. That is basically what cyberspace is.
Trust no one.
Trust no one.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
That's just how it is.
I see. Okay. That's all we have for this segment. Thank you for tuning in to Mamolao. Please don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell for more of this educational legal content. Make sure that you comment, guys. I want to hear from you. And also ask questions because I want to hear those too.